I've got a 6-month baby boy, and that's it. There's been some really good things about it, and then some really awful things. Because I've been shielding pretty much for a year. So, you know, I suppose it was good for the pregnancy because I basically just spent 7 months of the pregnancy at home chilling. But then at the same time, I spent 7 months of my pregnancy locked in the house. So, yeah, it's both kind of sad and lonely and a bit traumatic, but also then I'm pretty sure that's why I had a really healthy pregnancy, like from a physical point of view, because I wasn't having to commute or go on trains or, you know, I literally just rested for the entire pregnancy. In the pregnancy bit, because I've got some health issues, I was very much, okay, you are on chill mode in your house, and that felt good, and it was for me and for him. But now that he's been born, it's it just feels really damaging because you're not leaving the house, so it's, you know, and you've not got the health, physical rest pregnancy bit to justify it. 8 years ago, I developed ITP, which is immune thrombocytopenia purpura. So it was kind of suggested just not. It wasn't a great idea to get pregnant, and then if I did, I'd have to be monitored very closely. Fortunately, my platelets didn't start dropping until sort of 2 months before I was due, and I had enough of a range, like enough platelets that it could drop a bit without it being too bad. And then as soon as I gave birth, they shot right up and were way too high, and now they've evened out. I'm like in that percentage where it just made me better. It's one of those things, I'm not saying it, I'd say it's contributing negatively to my mental health, but also I can't go anywhere, and I was living in Wolverhampton, which has super high rates of COVID. I always knew I wanted to breastfeed, so wow. Definitely something about pregnancy that's made me well, and breastfeeding. And so I decided that that was important because I've got so many autoimmune conditions in the family. I just wanted to make sure that he had like the best. I've got a friend who has been breastfeeding for 2 years, and I remember thinking, I'm not going to do that. That's awful. And now I'm doing it. I'm like, no, I think stopping breastfeeding will really affect me mentally. I need to keep going. I haven't been doing the night shifts for like 6 months the entire time, because my husband's quite like whispering in my ear, you haven't been doing that, I've been doing that. I had to go back to work after 6 weeks, so I've got a super duper expressor. He both loves and hates it. He says he loves looking after him and he loves having that, but he's also severely sleep deprived. So, but I was self-employed and I couldn't lose the contract, and it just was what it was. I mean, I've been able to work from home the entire time, but I just had to be on it. But it does mean that I've been able to just breastfeed throughout all of the appointments and kind of deadlines and stuff, which is great. But yeah, he's very kindly pretty much been doing, I think I've done like 4 nights or something in 6 months. I am sure that this whole experience of pregnancy and breastfeeding, but also still being able to sleep a good 6-7 hours at night, has made me a very robust, healthy person. It's been an odd one, my breastfeeding experience, because I was like, this is what I'm going to do, and it's only going to be breast, because I was very autoimmune conscious. And then I actually had the opposite, where a lot of the midwives were basically saying, you need to introduce formula. He should be, you know, how are you feeding? And I'm like, well, I feed, I'm following a sleep schedule because I just needed to with work. And he got onto it really easily and well, which was great. But it was the feeds and the naps were kind of set more in stone, so it was working for both of us. But my health visitor was not nice about it, and she's basically like, no, you have to feed whenever he wants it. Let him tell you when he wants it, and you should be feeding as long as he wants to. And I'm like, well, I've got to work and stuff. I'm feeding him every sort of hour and a half, 2 hours on this schedule. After like half an hour, I just kind of call that quits because I've got to get on with my day. He's like one line under or something on the scale, which apparently is still okay, but they want him to be on the line or above. I'm like, well, but is this judged on formula babies? Because formula babies are fatter. And me and my husband are like naturally quite slim, and he's a very long baby. And I'm like, maybe that's just his shape. Maybe they weren't used to, I don't know, that scenario where the mom kind of had health issues, was breastfeeding, and also was going back to work self-employed so quick. I don't know, but that's why my husband said, I'll do the night shifts for you. You know, that's why we made that deal. And so I had the support in place, but they weren't really listening. So they would just keep trying to get me to use formula. It's just, to be honest, just a bit sad because I wanted support. I didn't have any support during the pregnancy just because of shielding, but then I had too much interference straight after. 6 weeks of being quiet before I had to go back to work, even though I was at home, still had to be responsible for deadlines and stuff. And it kind of ruined it. I've got a new health visitor here because I am going through the perinatal mental health team, mainly just because I've been in lockdown so long.
Yeah.
And I need to go back to work, but I need a vaccine legally to go back to work. But I feel really uncomfortable getting the vaccine because there's been some issues with bleeding afterwards. So I feel very stuck, having some panic attacks. And so I've been sent to the perinatal team about that. And my health visitor for here, in my lovely postcode, is lovely with me. I think in a normal time, I would have maybe just taken a year off to adjust, but I haven't been able to do that. It just happened that I was the one who had the job that could survive COVID. And it just was what it was. I just needed, it's going to be, you know, the self-employment, the company that I share with my husband, it could be several years before that's back on track now because of COVID. Yeah. I think you have to feel very confident and sure in your own mind, body, and COVID has rocked all of that.